I'm trapped in a technological nightmare right now.
Program to bring you news of a terrorist bombing at the Blue Lagoon Flyer.
I don't want promotion. I don't want anything.
Of course you want something. You must have hopes, wishes, dreams.
No, nothing.
One should be making a comment, a modern version of 1984. I also just had a lot of anger against the world that I was trying to get out of my system. So I started thinking about Brazil. And I was at Port Talbot, and the sun was setting, and this beautiful golden light was covering this extremely ugly, mechanistic, machine-like and black world. And I had this image of somebody sitting there with a radio, and as he was tuning in the radio, he got these Latin American songs, and I'd never heard anything like that in his life. And it was a total contrast to the world that he lived in, and became obsessed by this music, by the possibility of this world that was out there. When I was doing my cartoons, my desk used to be covered with all sorts of books, pieces of paper, things I'd cut out. And more times than not, the paper would organize itself. I wouldn't do it. They would just sort of fall in a certain combination. And I'd say, oh, that's fantastic, let's use it. But I didn't do it. All I did was recognize it. But I didn't make it. I just had the ability to recognize something interesting and use it. And I find when we're making films, this is always happening, that something will happen. And I say, oh, that's great. There's all these patterns are waiting. They're just floating out there. And the artist is the radio antenna that actually picks up those forms and says, oh, and you don't know where they come from. You don't always understand them, but there they are. And you then go along with it. I think other imagery like the samurai warrior is, I saw the cover of the Radio Times, which is the television guide in England, and on the cover was this samurai helmet made out of computer parts, silicon chips and everything. And I thought, what a wonderful, wonderful idea. Afterwards, I could excuse myself by saying that this is maybe some kind of unexpressed fear of Japanese technology. I think Brazil doesn't try to answer all the questions of the modern world. It never did. And so you can criticize it very easily, but there's a sensibility there that I think is what Brazil is really about. I mean, basically what I was actually saying in Brazil was about individual human responsibility. When I did Brazil, it wasn't about science fiction. It was really about now. I was trying to do the past, the present, and the future all at the same time. So that's not quite the same. I think science fiction, if it's used as a way of projecting our fears and dreams of where we're going and what we may become, then it becomes very interesting, because then you can use it as a danger signal. Look out, this is where we're going. Stop before it's too late. And that's why I hate bureaucracies, because they're an excuse for people not behaving in a human way towards each other, because there's a law. There's laws are pieces of paper, rules. All of these things are there to avoid the more complicated relationships that have to be involved between people. I was more specifically just about the idea of paperwork and forms and people's lives being reduced to several pages of paper with their names and their statistics on them. And that's, any modern organization or society does that. They try to put the names and numbers on things so it can all go into the files and the computers. I just hate the idea. I find it very difficult to fill out forms about when a census form, and I have to fill it out. I can't fill it out because it's too limiting. I can't put into that one line when it asks me who I am. I can't put in the definition. I don't know. I don't want to know. That's the one thing I think if I find out, I die when I find that one out. And so I fight against that, and yet modern organizations, societies demand that. They want to put you in that thing. I mean, we live in a world where you know, statistics every day on the television. There's, you know, it's numbers. It's numbers. People are reduced to numbers. What's so interesting is that the modern world is all about communication. It's the big industry. That's where all the money's being made, in communication. And I think technology does a similar thing. It's another way. I mean, we're sitting here communicating. Look, we're supposed to be communicating, and we're surrounded by the most elaborate bits of technical apparatus just to try to get me to talk to you. Now you, whoever you is, I don't know who you are out there. I know I'm talking to somebody here in the studio, and this is going out to a lot of yous out there. And you've got me looking directly at you with this clever mirror, this bit of technology that creates the illusion that I'm talking to you. But I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to him, who's over there. and everything is designed to make it feel like you and I are having something intimate. But we're not. I'm trapped in a technological nightmare right now. I've always had an obsession with viscera, the things inside, the things that are under the surface. And so by making this place almost a living organism, this great machinery of the city, it's a mixture of machinery and organic viscera. And so it became more and more like intestines and veins and arteries. And it had a life of its own. I have a feeling, I have this great fear that that's what we're doing. We're just part of this process of building this gigantic organism, which we're just little bits and pieces. We're little nerve endings within that. And all the electrical connections and all the plumbing connections are all part of putting it all together. My feeling is it's just whether the guts, they are the guts. They're not only the guts, but they're also the nervous system is what kind of the pipes that I've got in Brazil, I think I use them like guts. But the reality is what I really mean. I just happen to like guts. They're squishy things. Nervous, but it's more about the entire system of a body. It's the nervous system. It's the communications within the thing. And I felt the world of Brazil was like being inside of a body. And the body was this social body, this civilization that one had created. And information now, I suppose, is more the nervous system than the guts of the thing. Except there's probably more shit coming through the cathode ray tube than just information. I love the idea of recognizing the importance of shit in the world. My company is called Poo Poo Pictures. Now, the main reason I did that was because I wanted something as childish as a name like that, so that lawyers and accountants and all sorts of people who wear suits and are important people and bureaucrats have to sit around in meetings talking about Poo Poo Pictures. They have to talk baby talk. That's the main thing. That was the primary reason, was to embarrass those people. I still ultimately believe that the ultimate freedom is in you, not in the machinery that you play with. The minute you hook into the machinery, it's like central services. You know, they bring the stuff in, and they take the stuff out, but they have control of you. Once you're hooked into it, you're there. You're part of that technocracy. You can't escape from it. That's the price of admission. You have to join in, and the only other escape is physical escape. Gets harder and harder because the world becomes more and more enclosed, and eventually the only escape may be inside your own brain. To me, there was Sam, who was a dreamer, who really wasn't a pragmatist. He was living in this safe cocoon world, which was in the ministry. And he was very smart because he chose not to be ambitious. And by being less ambitious, he was able to do his work when he was asleep, practically. It was so easy. He was a big fish in a little pond within this ministry. And he also was able to avoid responsibility for what the ministry did, because I'm not important, he would say. I'm just down at the bottom, so I'm not important. And he would live in his dream world. The interesting thing about Universal is its headquarter building looks exactly like the big monoliths in Brazil. It's a black tower. And the people in there, of all the studios, all have to wear gray suits. It's required. So the irony was that we ended up in exactly the bureaucracy that Brazil was making fun of. And they were rigid and they were powerful. And they actually started referring, they decided the film had to be changed. They couldn't release the film, and they wanted a happy ending. They wanted, they actually decided the main theme of the film was love conquers all, which wasn't what it was about. I think the problem is, we're in a world, especially us that make films, people are, the television people, the film people are busy training a world of people who don't have to think anymore. And that's what really worries me. People get used to their, it's the McDonald's world of filmmaking. I know with Brazil, when I had to fight the studio to get the film released in America, the way we won was with humor. We didn't fight with their weapons, we fought with our weapons. And our weapons looked really silly in comparison, because they had lawyers and money and time and all this great organization. And all we had was some journalists who wanted to have some fun. And I started having fun with them and doing silly things, embarrassing. And we won because they couldn't control everything.
No promotion. I don't want anything.
Of course you want something. You must have hopes, wishes, dreams.
No, nothing. Not even dreams.
Le film a été produit